SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
I don't have to tell you that it's hot outside, but did you know your tires and oil degrade faster in hot weather? That's why it's important for you to pay a visit to Summit's Auto Center, Exhaust Pro Tire and Lube. We make tire replacement easy at Exhaust Pro with the Auto Pass Card. 1131 Highway 51 in Summit.
And now, Sports.
Get ready, sports fans. It's time for Chasing Foul Balls on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5 and streaming worldwide on the SuperTalk Mississippi app and on your Amazon Alexa devices. Chasing Foul Balls, your weekly source for all the sports news and interviews important to Southwest Mississippi. Chasing Foul Balls is presented by First Bank. And now, here's your host, Robbie Hamilton.
Well, good Friday morning, everybody, and welcome back to Chasing Foul Balls. Glad to be back with you. Missed last Friday. The weather got to us, all the power out. I had a chance to drive through the campus of Southwest Mississippi Community College this morning for the first time since the big wind came through. A little bit different look out here, isn't it, Neil?
Well, I tell you, there is evidence that Mother Nature reared her head.
When we look around, it's funny, you see all the trees down, but you don't remember what it looked like with the trees up. Are you the same way?
Exactly, Robbie. It's my first time being over here since then, and I was telling somebody about, I'm sure some of those pine trees were young saplings when I was here 40-something years ago, but it brings it to reality when you pull up in front of the workforce and there's a load of logs laying out there on the ground, and that's not something. You
realize how bad it really was, right, that's exactly. For sure. Today, Coach David Dean, the head football coach, the new head football coach at Delta State, will join us. Brandon Mancuso, the new head football coach at Bogue, Chitto, will be in the studio with us about 9:40 this morning. Hope you'll stay for that. Also, to my left, back with us, TP himself, Richard Hay. How are you, sir?
Just fine, Robbie. Once again, glad to be here.
Mr. Randall, the professor, after a couple of weeks, he had to be summoned last week, so he has returned this week.
I'm like Minnie Pearl. I'm just proud to be here with you guys, especially with somebody known as TP.
And it's not only he is as old as Minnie Pearl, too. So.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
Let's go to work. We got a lot to talk about. Coaching. Some news to start this morning. Jay Ladner will be back as the head basketball coach at Southern Miss. I really wasn't surprised at that, but there's a lot of rumbling going on during the season about trying to replace Coach Ladner. What do you think, Neil?
Oh, well, I think there's always going to be a certain amount of rumbling unless you win all of your games, and we know how often that happens. But I think he's done a more than credible job at Southern Miss. Finished up, 19-15, something like that this year. Won a couple of 3 games in the conference tournament, but I think he's done a good job.
What do you say, Richard?
Somewhat similar. Changing coaches nowadays just seems like it just happens all the time, but we think we want some continuity. Well, if the coaches is always changing, we know the players are always changing. How are you ever going to get continuity? Something's got to be stable. I do think, middle part of the year when they were struggling, I said, well, I don't know. But then they kind of, towards the end of the season, got on a hot streak, won 3 games or so in the tournament, were just maybe a short few baskets from maybe being in the championship game. And I said, well, if you're going to do something good, do it right towards the end, where that's what they remember. So I think that's probably what helped him. But I didn't see no reason for him that, but they didn't ask me anyway.
More coaching news. Steve Knight, which has to be the Southern gentleman of coaches in Mississippi, he's retiring from William Carey as the winningest men's basketball coach.
Steve Knight been around for a long time, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, Robbie, I'm pretty sure that he's a Petal product.
Right.
And I believe he was on that 1967 team that beat Macomb All-Stars down in Pascagoula in a controversial ending, if you talk to the Macomb folks.
You remember from 1967?
No, I was chasing something.
We don't want to get into that.
I was there and watched John Sharpling keep John Lowry from coming onto the field to get to umpires.
Coaching change. Alyssa Adams, the assistant coach at Southwest Mississippi Community College, named the head girls basketball coach and athletic director at Brookhaven Academy. So a new hire there. And Steve Buckley, who was the head coach at Petal for a while, and then Jones Community College. Steve Buckley has taken the new job at Columbia as the offensive coordinator for the Columbia Wildcats. A little surprised about Alyssa Adams, but, a growing family, that's hard on an assistant coach at community college with all the recruiting you have to do. So you could see where she would take the opportunity to have a few more nights at home than on the road.
Exactly, Robbie. When I read that story, I with someone who traveled during the young years of my family, it tells you how tough it is and it wears on you. So to read that and understand, she's not going very far, still in the area, but the time to spend with family, because as we all know, they're only young and at that age for once, and you need to enjoy it and be there as much as you can. So hats off to her, but she'll do a great job.
Well, we go to the season of March Madness. Of course, on Friday morning, a lot of time it's March Sadness when everybody looks at their bracket. Do you fill out a bracket, Neil?
No, I gave that up many moons ago. Gave it up for Lent, I think.
Never mind. Sometimes you know better than asking questions like that. You shouldn't ask questions that you don't know the answer to.
Right.
What about you? You fill out bracket?
I for years I fill out one bracket. I actually took a picture of it and sent it to my sons and said, this is the bracket. I ain't going to say down the road, hey, look how great I am with my 14th bracket. I've got one. And had a pretty good day yesterday. I think I was 7-3.
Did you have High Point over Wisconsin?
No, I didn't. But here, Neil, this is what I always say about making a really good bracket. There's going to be a 12-5 upset. It's, are you lucky enough to pick the right one? And I picked one. And that was one of my thoughts. And I said, no, I'm going to go with Wisconsin. And but I also picked North Carolina like a lot of people too. So, but I had a pretty good day.
High Point over Wisconsin. Virginia Tech beats North Carolina. Miami of Ohio beats SMU. Duke survived. They had to come from way behind to do that.
That was the one that if Duke had lost that game, you could have probably thrown away 99.9% of the brackets.
TCU beat Ohio State. Texas A&M over St. Mary's. Texas beat BYU, and St. Louis over Georgia. Some of the, if you want to call them upset, it was the team with a higher number beating the team with a lower number, which brings me to the next question. If all these people can figure out who's going to win these games, how come the people put in this bracket have so many teams above a team that beats them?
I don't have a good answer for that. I know there's a lot of things that go into it, but I've always said 1 and 2 and 14 and 15 are kind of where it's at. Everything in between, it's a toss-up. They always talk about the 5-12. There's always a 12 that beats a 5. Well, there's always usually a 13 that beats a 4, or as we saw last night late, 11 beat a 6. I mean, so it's a toss-up in the middle. Well, that's 80% of the bracket. And so...
Well, that's what makes it so popular,
exactly.
I think. Yeah.
Big question coming up out of Baton Rouge. Who will be the LSU head men's basketball coach, Neil? Will it be Will Wade? Or will it be the current coach, Matt McMahon?
I would have to bet against Will Wade for the way that he went out. But I wouldn't be surprised at anything anymore.
Remember now, LSU hired Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, that's what I'm basing a lot of this on, Robbie.
I shouldn't have said that.
He couldn't help it. It
just came out before I ever thought about it.
You know what you can't make.
I understand.
Into a house.
You can make chicken salad though. Will Wade or Matt McMahon?
That's a tough one, Robbie. I'm glad I don't have to put money on that decision. I'm with Neil. I might see a coaching change, but I don't think it would be Will Wade because of the past history. And as we well know, LSU will spend the money. But I think there's going to be enough grumblings behind the scenes that, no, we're going to spend it, but we ain't spending it on him.
Well, there are a lot of young coaches out there, a lot of folks at these mid-majors, whatever that is, chomping at the bit.
But as we know, you take McMahon, one recruiting class that gels and comes together, and he's playing in the tournament. I mean, that's what we're in right now.
That's a big if, too.
The only thing I will say is that LSU liked Will Wade. And what he was let go for is legal now.
Yep.
And if you'll also remember, the new president of LSU came from where? McNeese State. Who hired Will Wade at McNeese State? The now president of LSU. So all those things about if I was to put a little $1 or $2 on it, I would think the way the rumblings are starting to happen, that Will Wade would have a really good chance of being the next LSU basketball coach.
Well, he made a run in the tournament at North Carolina, and we know from his days at McNeese, he's a really good basketball coach. So I would be as pleasantly surprised if he did, but it wouldn't surprise me completely at all that it didn't happen. It's just because as you said earlier about LSU and their
nice hedging there, Richard. Yeah. I said, I think, but I can always count on Richard. Richard, next week, what did you say about that? Well, I said that. I said, never mind.
Richard is a proponent of CYA.
That's right. What does that stand for?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, let me move on if I get in trouble. NIL tax exempt has died in the Mississippi legislature. The Senate said, I don't think we need to do this. What do you think, Neil?
I thought their timing was really poor, especially when they voted down the teacher pay raises at the same time. I thought that was very poor PR. And then, of course, they brought the teacher pay raise back. And has that passed, Richard?
Yes, it did.
It did,
yeah.
Well, but then you got these folks in our state who say, well, all these other states, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, they're all making this money tax exempt, and that's hurting us in recruiting. But it tells us a lot about our priorities, I think.
Are you surprised? I'm going to use Ole Miss as an example, how all of a sudden a basketball team can be so much better when it gets to be tournament times. That wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that the portal's fixing to open and that the draft's fixing to happen and all this is going on, and all of a sudden these players start playing better than they did for 30 games during the regular season?
Well, I think I've seen and heard that several times over different interviews and stuff about different teams about how much better they're playing at the end of the season. They make the run in the tournament and all this. And where was that, sense of urgency in December or early January before you were playing in the conference? And because as somebody said in football lore, the film doesn't lie. So you're asking somebody to pay you a big contract or a bunch of money, but they go back and say, well, for these 4 games, you didn't even hardly exist. Well, what was wrong there that different now? And, oh, well, I know I'm getting ready to maybe have to see if I can up my pay. Well, I think that's a hard pill to swallow for some people.
I agree with what you're saying, Richard, but I also think when you go into a conference tournament, some teams need or have to win, and others feel like, well, we're in pretty good shape. We're not going to be as motivated, and that's why you see so many upsets, or that's in my opinion, in these conference tournaments.
So the money don't motivate them?
Well, yeah, I think it does to a certain extent, Robbie. But I really think at these conference tournaments, you have to play 4 or 5 games, I think they're worn out by then. They've already played 30 games, you know. I don't know, Robbie. It's interesting. Keeps people watching the tube, I guess.
Couple of things I want to get to before we go to the first break. The Miracle League gets started Saturday over at their field over in East McComb. Hope everybody will get out and support the Miracle League as it starts on Saturday morning for their first games. Also, did you see the Park Lane softball roster? I was amazed. They named their new team for next year. Of course, they play during the fall as compared to the summer for the public school. The softball roster had 8 7th graders, 4 8th graders, 4 freshmen, 2 sophomores, 9 juniors, and 0 seniors on the roster for the softball team for Park Lane. When do you remember the last time a roster came out for a team that had 0 seniors on the entire team?
I would have not thought that you didn't have at least 1 or 2.
And how many times have you heard coaches of all sports say, well, we're really counting on our senior leadership?
Not this week, that's for sure. And also one last thing, the stage band at Southwest, March 26th through the 28th. That'll be at 7 o'clock each evening. Their spring show. And then on March 29th, they'll go at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll come back. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with Coach David Dean, the head football coach at Delta State, right after this time out on Chasing Foul Balls this Friday morning. Welcome back, Chasing Foul Balls, Friday morning here in Southwest Mississippi on SuperTalk Pike County. Glad to be with you. We have worked hard to get this interview. 3 weeks ago, Coach Dean was traveling. Last week, we had to cancel the interview because the power was out here at Southwest Community College. But today, we got it all worked out. The head coach of the Delta State Fighting Okra football team, David Dean, joins us. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing well. How you doing this morning?
We're doing good. We're doing great. You see, you got spring practice started on Wednesday. You in full swing?
We did. We had a good first practice and watched some film yesterday, and going back out on the field today and in the morning. So we're excited about it. Finally getting to do what we love to do, and that's be out on the field with these players.
Well, Coach, you're a new coach with a new team. What do you expect out of the spring practice? What are you looking to accomplish?
Well, the big thing is be fundamentally sound when we come out of spring. I want us to be good technicians at every position that we have on the field. Obviously, we want to grow together as a team, have that family atmosphere and that love for each other. Probably the most important thing is to come out staying healthy, where we get everybody back that have been injured this past year, go through spring without getting anybody injured, so we're at full strength when we crank it up in August.
Well, you won 2 national championships at Valdosta State. You won a national championship at West Georgia, one of the 2 coaches to win the national championship in your first year as head coach. You have experience in being a first-year coach. How is it so? What is the difficulty of being a brand new coach at a brand new place?
Well, the toughest part is getting to know all the players. We've got 87 guys on the roster right now, and trying to learn 87 guys in a matter of a week or 2 is extremely difficult. But the good thing is these kids have accepted me, and I think they got a hunger for what we are trying to establish within this program. I love the work ethic of these guys. So it's been a pretty easy transition thus far. But, the main thing is they've had a lot of success here at Delta State. Todd Cooley did an outstanding job here for many years. This program is in great shape, so it's not like I've got to come in here and revamp everything and change everything. So we're going to do some things that these guys have done in the past where it doesn't have a whole bunch of change, but then kind of put some of my tweaks in there and things that I like to do and kind of mix them together and hopefully have some type of recipe for success.
Coach Dean, Neil Randall, I'm a Fighting Okra alumnus, so I'm totally on your side, 110%, looking for lots of good things, and we know you have the recipe for success. Talk a little bit about recruiting at the D2 level, and at what point do you think your roster will be finalized?
We probably will not have it finalized until maybe a month or so. We were very behind in high school recruiting. When I came in here, we started bringing some high school kids in to try to fulfill some needs that we had as far as depth and those type things. So we've got 7 commitments since I've been here from high school kids, so we're really excited about that. They had a very good signing class from junior college and transfer portal before I got here. So I've inherited a lot of really good football players. So right now we're just trying to finish up with some high school guys that are still available. And, from there, you're talking about Division II recruiting. You want to recruit guys that can play Division I, but then end up getting passed by those guys. Those guys that are right there on the edge of, are they going to be offered by Division I? And if they're not, then you go in there and you scoop them up. So there's a lot of times, a lot of heartache that we have in recruiting guys, because we're recruiting guys that maybe we shouldn't get, but then all of a sudden we do get those. But you just never know, and we want to stay with those guys the whole way.
Coach Dean, this is Richard Hay. Welcome to Mississippi, and as a proud football tradition at Delta State, I know it will be continued. Looking at your schedule, I know I'm jumping ahead. Okay, we're through spring practice, but just looking at your schedule for next year, I was like, wow. Several teams on there that in their area are always contending for region championships and national championships. So how much does that bring to the table when you're out there recruiting and talking to the guys today about preparing yourselves for folks? We got to get this right and get it done, because we got a tough road to hoe.
Well, most everybody that you talk to wants to play college football, obviously, but they want to play at the next level. And the one thing that we emphasize is how good the Gulf South Conference is, and the competition that you're going to play in the Gulf South Conference is going to put you on that platform to be able to play at the next level. Everybody loves competition, and we're going to recruit guys that want to compete. We don't want to put a schedule together where we can walk through and then get to the conference and play those tough games. So the tough part for us is only having 4 teams in our conference right now. We have to at least get 7 games to fill our schedule. And a lot of times you're going to have to play those very, very difficult teams, because those are the other ones that nobody wants to play. And you're kind of stuck playing those guys. So we're excited about it. I love having the competition. Unfortunately, we wanted to play North Carolina Pembroke, and they dropped us. We had them September 26th. They decided not to come here and play. So we've only got 9 games on our schedule now, and desperately looking for a 10th game. Hopefully we can get that. But, it's the competition part is something that's extremely exciting for me, and it's something that the Gulf South Conference is always going to have.
Coach Dean, Neil Randall again, continuing to talk about the GSC. Do you see, is there a move? Has anything going on to add additional teams to the Gulf South Conference? I know it's been in transition for a few years, and you've got a lot of experience with the Gulf South Conference.
Well, I do, and I wish I had a crystal ball. And to tell you, there's so much indecision, and from us as coaches, we don't know. There's been a lot of talk of trying to get more teams to get into the Gulf South Conference. We haven't had success doing that. I don't know if you're aware of this, but our commissioner, the Gulf South Conference commissioner, has just been offered a job as a commissioner of the Ohio Valley Conference, so he's leaving. So that's going to make it even tougher. Because we need that commissioner to help us fight to get other teams in. So we've looked at at the possibility of moving into other conferences or making alliances with other conferences. Nobody seems to want to welcome any of these 4 teams in. So it's been extremely difficult. I don't blame them. You know,
I understand.
It's the SEC in Division II for sure.
Let's go back to recruiting, Coach. With the moving of the portal, the way it happens now at Division I, you see more high school players and other players pushed down and need another place to play. Does that open up the D2 division to pick up some players you normally would not have an opportunity to get?
Well, there's no question. There's a lot of guys that get disgruntled where they are at these Division I schools. They want to be starters, and they're not starters, and they feel like they're not going to get the film that they need to go to the next level. So we can offer that for them. But the one thing that we do tell them is you're not going to be guaranteed a starting spot here. You're going to have to earn it. You know, there's a lot of guys here that feel pretty good about their position, and they're not just going to hand that position to you just because you came from an Ole Miss or Alabama or Louisiana Tech or wherever it is. You're going to have to fight for that position. But it does give us an opportunity to, number one, get a little bit better athletes. It helps us be a little bit more solid in our depth, where in the past you probably had a good first 11 and then maybe 2 or 3 that could fill in there. Now you're looking at about 19 or 20 on one side of the ball that you feel really, really good about that could play for you and could possibly start.
As a head football coach, the one thing you have to have is a lot of patience. And that you have 3 daughters and I have 2. The one thing I have learned, 3 daughters makes you have a lot of patience. Does that help in football coaching?
There's no question at all. I mean, you if you get into this position, you have to be patient. We had our quarterback threw two interceptions. I shouldn't say this, but he threw 2 interceptions in our Skelly period back to back. And he got frustrated with himself, and I said, look here, you made the wrong read, right? And he goes, yeah, I did. And I said, I've been doing this offense for 28 years. How many days have you done this? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, you've been doing it for 2. Quit worrying about it. You're going to make those mistakes. You got to learn from them. So you do. You got to have patience. You know, these guys don't do what we do all day long. They have to take classes, and then they come over here and they get an outlet to go to meetings and practice for about 3.5 hours in a day, where we do it basically for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And you got to understand these guys are in a learning curve, and sometimes they're trying to learn what you're doing, but also at the same time, their mind's on a lot of other things. They're on where am I going to go tonight? Where am I going to eat? What's my girlfriend doing while I'm at practice? And there's a lot of different things you got to deal with.
Coach Dean, Richard Hay once again. The big picture to the Delta State fan base. What can they expect when they get to that first game this year? Is it a team that on the offensive side that opens it up, throws it around a lot? On the defensive side, we're blitzing all the time. We're forcing action on that. What can we see from the Delta State Statesmen?
Well, from the defensive side of the ball, I think you're going to see a lot of speed. We are going to blitz. We're not going to blitz heavily. We're going to try to get people in 3rd and long and then pressure them a little bit. But we will also get a blitz package together for first down to create them to get way behind the chains. So we're going to mix in our blitz packages as we see fit according to our game plan. You will see probably a little bit more man coverage than we have played in the past here at Delta State. So our guys are excited about that. From an offensive standpoint, we're going to be balanced. We're going to be a spread team, but we're going to be balanced in the way that we run and throw. Obviously, whatever the game dictates is what we're going to do. But a lot of people think that I'm a guy that likes to throw the ball around a lot because we've had success throwing it. But almost every year that I've had the opportunity to coach, I've had a 1,000-yard rusher. So we've been balanced in everything that we do, and we want to hopefully continue to be that way this year.
We talked with David Dean, the head football coach at Delta State. August 29th, you get the season started at Northeastern State. September the 5th, you get your first home game with Wingate. But I'm sure somewhere down there you have a circle around November the 7th when Valdosta State comes to town.
Well, I'd sit here and tell you, no, not really. I look at all of them exactly the same, but I think you're right. I'm excited about that one. Hopefully we're going to take it one day at a time. But that's the first thing I did. I looked at where are we playing them and when are we playing them. So, that'll be a fun game. I still have a lot of friends, a lot of people in Valdosta that I'm close with. There's a lot of people in Valdosta that called me after I got this job. That's going to be a special week. We have them here. Next year will be a little bit different when we go there, and I see a lot of those folks. But, we want to take it one at a time, but that one is going to be kind of special.
Coach Dean, Neil again, when you came into Cleveland to Delta State, were you able to bring any assistants?
I did not. I kept 3 that were on the staff here with Coach Cooley. And then I was able to hire 3 more. None of those guys were on my staff previously. One of them did play for me. Our wide receiver coach played for me back in the mid-2010s. I always thought the world of him. He was the guy that was a walk-on for us, came in and was an overachiever. And I always knew he was going to be a really good football coach. So he's really the only one that I brought in that I knew and had worked with before. But I brought in a defensive coordinator that I'm really excited about, Trip Thomas, who was with the Colorado Mines and led them to a national championship appearance several years ago. And, I don't know if you've ever seen Colorado Mines play, but it's a little bit different athletes than he has here at Delta State. So I'm excited about what he's going to be able to do with a higher caliber athlete and the speed that he's going to be working with. And then the other coach that I brought in was Clay Isbell. Clay was at Coastal Carolina last year. He's a very good special team coach, and I wanted to make sure that I brought in a guy that could handle our special teams and help us be an elite special team program. But I kept Jonathan Fletcher, who was our offensive line coach and offensive coordinator. He is going to be back. Excited about him. Azar Wilson, who coached our defensive line, and then Gerard Altman, who coaches the secondary. And then we've got 4 GAs, Charlie Lott, Wade Cannon, Andrew Thornton, and Seth Sally. All 4 of those guys I retained and kept them. So I think we've got a good staff. We've gelled together in the short amount of time that we've had to be together, and I think it's going to be a fun group to work with.
Speaking of walk-ons, you were a walk-on at Georgia Tech. What did that teach you as far as your coaching experience or your coaching philosophy, the fact that you walked on to Georgia Tech and made that team?
Well, it teaches you a lot of discipline, and like you say, patience is big. In football, patience is big. I knew that I was going to have to prove myself, and I was going to have to be patient. And when I had the opportunity to go out and go through Skelly or go through any type of team period, I was going to take advantage of the small number of reps that I had. And I was fortunate enough that my first year, I traveled a little bit, didn't play except for a few special teams here and there, but earned a scholarship in that spring before I started my sophomore year. So I'm grateful to Coach Dwayne Painter, who was our offensive coordinator, and obviously Coach Bill Curry, who was our head coach, for giving me that opportunity. But the main thing is just, it's like football. You've got to make sure that when your opportunity comes, you take advantage of it. And you got to stay the course and not get too up, too down until that opportunity comes.
Well, Coach, for us, the opportunity to talk to you has been well worth the wait. We look forward to seeing you on the Delta State campus.
Well, I appreciate it. Y'all are welcome anytime, and love to have y'all over here and love to talk anytime.
Thank you, sir. Coach David Dean, the new head coach at Delta State, joined us on this Chasing Foul Balls Friday morning. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Coach Brandon Mancuso up next right here on Chasing Foul Balls. Welcome back, Chasing Foul Balls. If you're looking for a bank that feels like home, First Bank is here for you. 14 locations across southern Mississippi. Local bank for checking, savings, loans, and more. Now, whether you're buying a house, you're starting a new business, or you just need an everyday banking made easy, First Bank ready to help. Stop by your nearest branch or visit firstbankms.com today. First Bank, where customers and community matter most. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender. I thank to Coach David Dean of Delta State for joining us. He has to be a busy guy starting spring practice now.
Yeah, he really does, and had got new coaches, and I suspect there are going to be a lot of new players for the first game.
Well, I think to say I wouldn't count the roster right now as being done, to say the least. Joining us in the studio this morning, boy, we're glad to have him, Coach Brandon Mancuso, the new head football coach up at Delta State, up at Bogue, Chitto. How are you, Coach?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing fine. Looking over the information about Brandon Mancuso led me to one thing that I had to start with. It said you had 1 year of coaching 8-man football at Prentice Christian. Now, what did you learn from coaching 8-man football?
Well, it's like Coach said before, it taught me a lot of patience for sure. A lot of people talk about it's a different game. It's a different game. Well, those once you get to coaching and once you get to playing it, it's a really fun thing to do. So, it like I said, it teaches you a lot of patience, and it's a really fun thing to coach and watch too.
Football is football, but 8-man football is different.
You get into some very high scoring affairs for sure.
Nothing ever feels comfortable, does it?
Not at all.
I'm thinking, Coach Mancuso, I'd rather be the offensive coordinator than the defensive there.
Look, that is for sure.
Tell us about. Let's go back and give us your background, your coaching, education background, and up to this point.
I graduated from Bassfield High School, and when I graduated from there, I came over here to Southwest for 2 years, and I actually punted for Coach Peavy here. When I left here, I kind of got into my coaching deal at Southern Miss under Jay Hobson. I did, some student coaching with him on special teams, things like that. When I graduated from Southern Miss, I went to Louisiana for a year to Riverside High School. My daughter was born that football season, and so moved back up this way, and I was the head football and baseball coach at Prentice Christian for a year, and that was the COVID year, so it was cut short. And after that, I was fortunate enough to go to Jeff Davis County for the past couple of years too.
Well, you've coached with your dad, Lance Mancuso. The good and the bad of coaching with your dad.
The good is, it's a blessing to be able to coach with somebody like him, and also to be able to call him your dad. So I would say that there really is no bad to it. He's got expectations for everybody around his program, and how he runs things, and his expectations are very high of everybody. So getting to know those expectations as a player and also as a coach, to see how he runs his program in the background, it really molds you and teaches you into being great coaches. That's why he's got such a big tree of very successful coaches.
Coach, tell us a little bit about what attracted you to come to Bogue Chitto and be the head Bobcat.
Well, I've kept up with Bogue Chitto a lot, and it's the foundation in the community that they have over there. I've been in this part of the state for a while, and whenever you hear 1 and 2A football, especially in the South, you hear Bogue Chitto. And they're a very competitive group. Their fans are behind them every step of the way. And I'm excited to be a part of that now, and having my children over here with me on the same campus, and being able, and for them to be with me and us to be together, that was huge for me too.
It don't hurt to have a guy like Jaden Poole, who scored 34 touchdowns last year, to build your offense around, does it?
Yeah, he's a great player, but he's just one guy, and a team wins games, and we're going to have to spread the ball around and give everybody else a shot to show their talents too. But Jaden, he's going to be a big part of our offense and a big part of what we do. But we're going to get other guys involved and really give the ball around and let them show their talents too, because that's a really talented bunch over there.
We talked to David Dean before you came in, and we talked about it. He just started spring practice up at Delta State. What do you try to get out of spring at Bogue Chitto? Will you have a spring practice, and what will you try to teach the kids that you want them to learn in spring?
So we'll have a spring practice. Right now we're in baseball season, and as you know, at a small school, is you kind of revolve around other sports when in the spring when it's their time. And I hope baseball goes I hope they have a really successful season, make a run in the postseason, things like that. But when you're coming in as a new head coach, you really want to lay a foundation of what your expectations are, and get those kids acclimated to what you're going to run offensively and defensively, and have those kids buy into your program.
Coach, what about your staff? Were you able to bring anybody in, or how has that worked for you at Bogue Chitto?
So I've retained pretty much all of the staff that's there. I did not bring anybody in, but I've talked with those guys, and we're all on the same page, and we want to see this thing move forward and in the right direction, and compete and get these guys in the right position and the right places for them to be successful.
You played at Bassfield and won a state championship there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you take from those teams that you played on under your dad that won state championships? What kind of information do you bring to Bogue Chitto?
We all knew our role, and we all knew that, competing Monday through Thursday really helped us on Friday. We won games in January through July when we were in the weight room, when we did the right things off the field, in the classroom too. And, we bought into that system in the weight room, and, that's what I'm bringing over here to Bogue Chitto, for them to see that, that when you buy into the weight room and when you buy into, the summer practices and the camps and things like that, and when you go to work Monday through Thursday and, you get after it with each other, you really start to win games then, and you start to be able to push for 48 minutes and compete. And come October, you're ready to go the distance, 4 quarters and things like that.
Well, Coach, as you mentioned earlier, Bogue Chitto has always been competitive in most everything they do. They're in your 2A, correct?
We're 1A.
1A. Mm-hmm. All right. What can you tell us about the district or division? I guess that's what they call it these days, that you'll be competing in.
So with everything that we do, every team that we play, be it 1A through wherever, we're going to control what we can control. Being over there, and I've looked at the schedule and things like that, but. Right now our program's going to be about us. Our program's going to be about, who our identity, and, we've got a standard at our place that people are going to have to play up to. And those guys understand that, and with talking to them, but, we're going to play some really good football teams, throughout the season and even in our district. And there's going to be some games we're going to have to fight, and we're going to have to claw through. But, like I said, winning now and in the weight room and through the spring and the summer, that's really going to propel us through the season to be able to finish games and to play for 48 minutes.
You were a punter at Southwest. I've always wondered, how lonely is it being a punter for a college team?
Well, I was fortunate enough when I was here, there was 3 of us. It was myself as a punter. We had a kicker, and, not a lot of places, especially at a junior college, you have a long snapper. So we pretty much had a trio, and we kind of traveled together, and everybody kind of watched their back for us, because if something happened to one of us, we were kind of all there to have each other's back. And there was a couple times in the locker room and things like that, things kind of got chippy, and we all banded together, and we kind of had each other's back. So it was nice having three of us and not quite being as lonely.
Not being on an island.
It was nice to have those guys around.
How much of the Jeff Davis offense will you bring with you to Bogue Chitto?
I'll bring a lot of it with me. It's a very successful offense, and when you look around the state now and you look at people competing deep in the playoffs, you see a lot of wing T teams. And when you really dive deep into those 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, every once in a while they'll run a wing T this and a wing T that. But a lot of that offense is coming with me. And we're going to be a system offense that, we're, like I said, we're going to spread the ball around, and we're going to give everybody a shot to really show what they've got and to help us.
How much difference is it from the wing T to what Bogue Chitto was running?
Not a whole lot of difference.
Coach, we hear a lot from football coaches especially, about senior leadership. How does your team stack up with experience?
We've got some very talented leaders coming back. And our program is going to be senior led, and they're going to have to step up to the plate, and I'm going to challenge them to lead this team as far as they want to go. I've been there in the weight room this week. I've been on spring break with where I'm at, and just kind of talking to those guys, and there's some guys in the weight room and as underclassmen that are going to step up and lead too. They've been vocal guys, but this senior class is going to take us as far as they want to take us and be leaders. It's my job and my coaching staff's job to mentor those guys to be able to push through the hard times and to be able to take this team and be able to lead this team in the right direction.
Like you talked about, you'll lose a lot of your spring football for baseball. So how important is this? What will you try to accomplish during the summer to get all the offense put in?
Like I said, once we kind of figure out where we're going to be with baseball, I've kind of got an idea and a spring plan. But this summer, we'll go to a camp. We'll go to a camp, and every day that we work out, we'll try to do something that helps us build that foundation that what we need for the season, being a new, I wouldn't say a new system, but a fairly new system coming in. So,
how much of the Bogue Chitto faithful have you met as far as the fan base?
I've met a few people. Like I said, I've been up at the school this week, and we actually have a booster club meeting. Kind of meet and greet come Monday, so I really hope Monday at 6:00, I believe, that I really hope everybody comes out. I want to meet the fans. My wife and kids really want to be a part of this community, and they really want to meet everybody and see everybody.
Coach, who's going to be under center for the Bobcats in that first game? Who's your quarterback?
To be honest, that's a good question. It's an open deal right now. I want those kids to compete and not feel like, right now that we've got one person picked out and things like that. It's every week's going to be a battle. They're going to have to earn their positions week by week, and that's the only way you're going to get better, whenever you're competing week in and week out to find a starting position. So,
well, when you have your meet and greet when a guy named Clay Cooper comes up to you, watch him.
Okay.
Keep your eye on him close now.
One last thing, talking about support in the community. Mm-hmm. Look up Roger Leggett in Brookhaven. Roger Dale Leggett.
Okay.
He was the first quarterback ever at Bogue Chitto High School. We had him on this show many years ago, and I asked him how he wound up being the quarterback. He said, "I guess because I was the only one that had a uniform."
Well, I hope I get to meet him real soon.
He's a special guy.
Well, Coach, what does your schedule look like?
Well, we open up with Weston, and we've got some road games and some home games, with Puckett and Pisgah and St. Andrews and people like that. But like I said earlier, we're a football team that's going to focus on us week by week and getting better. Every week we're going to play a faceless opponent, and they've got to play up to our standard. And when they do that, any time it's close at halftime and going into the fourth quarter, we always know that we've got a shot to win the ball game. So that anybody who we play is going to have to play for 48 minutes for sure.
Coach, thanks for taking the time to come down and be with us.
I appreciate y'all having me.
Nice to meet you,
yes, sir.
Brandon Mancuso, the new head coach at Bogue, Chitto. What is it now? Monday your meet and greet?
Yeah, Monday at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock at the Bogue Field House?
I believe it's in the gym.
In the gym. So everybody get out and make sure you introduce yourself to Coach Mancuso. Well, Neil, we have just about made it through another Friday morning.
Absolutely, and two great guests, Coach Dean and now Coach Mancuso.
No doubt about that. Well, let's see. One more thing before we go. Saints moves. We didn't get into that early. You interested in what the Saints are doing this early?
No.
No.
Sorry.
Boy, I tell you what. A true Saints fan there, Coach.
Well,
they
have been in the process of weaning me for a while now.
Oh, it don't take much for weaning, that's for sure. We'll be back next Friday morning. We'll talk sports, and we'll have some great guests for you. Hope you'll join us chasing foul balls right here on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5.
Looking for romance, I just want a little time to dance. And tomorrow we can sleep all day. Before tonight we'll let the music play. You remember how it used to be? I love the way that you would dance with me, rocking and rolling till the clock unwinds. And then we'd holler out one more time. Don't turn out the lights, the party ain't over. Well, the band just started to play my favorite song. I just found my baby and I want to get a chance to hold her. So don't turn out the lights, the party ain't over. I said don't turn out the lights, don't turn out those lights, don't turn out the lights, the party ain't over.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.